Hello. First tonight, the grim reality of policing our town centre streets.
Look East has video pictures which apparently show a police officer using CS spray at very close quarters during a disturbance in Brentwood. At the time, the face of the man was covered in blood, but there is no evidence the police in Essex were involved in that injury. They told us any allegations of excessive force are always taken very seriously. This report from Debbie Tubby.
9:30 last night on Brentwood High Street. After a disturbance at a nightclub, a 28-year-old man's face is covered in blood. However, it's unclear how he came to be hurt. He's restrained with handcuffs.
I come out the front of work in Domino's and just see all the police surrounding one person. There's a lot of blood on him and that. I went to the floor and I saw there's a lot of blood on the floor afterwards, yeah.
The police were restraining some people. They were being a bit rowdy, shouting a lot. I saw a bit of blood on the police car, which I don't know where it came from, but it was quite a lot. I wasn't out there for long, and I couldn't really be sure what was going on. But it's not something you tend to see in Brentwood very often.
Moments later, still handcuffed, the man is held across the bonnet of a police car. An officer takes out a canister of CS spray, aims it just inches away from his face. Police guidelines on the use of CS spray are explicit. The spray should not be used at a distance of less than 1 metre unless the nature of the risk to the officer is such that this cannot be avoided. In such cases, officers must be prepared to justify not only their use of the spray, but also their decision to use it at a distance which may cause damage to eyes due to the discharge pressure of the liquid. We showed the pictures of the incident to the civil rights group Liberty. Their legal officer told us she was appalled.
The use of this sort of CS gas really ought to be a last resort. It has potentially damaging side effects, and it certainly shouldn't be used at the range that it was used here. It's really difficult to see what the justification was on the basis of this footage.
Essex Police did not want to comment, but told us in a statement that any allegations of excessive force or assault are taken very seriously and will be thoroughly investigated. During the arrest, a woman with him complains about his treatment.
Black or white now!
She's worn before being brought to the ground, handcuffed, and her legs are bound. A 16-year-old girl thought to be a bystander is also arrested, all on suspicion of public order offences.
The manageress of O'Neill's wouldn't go on camera, but she has told me that the staff did ask police to remove a 28-year-old man from the premises last night because he'd become a little bit obnoxious.
On any weekend night out, police in Essex are often confronted with rowdy and sometimes violent situations. But a former police officer told the BBC that the use of CS spray on a suspect who was already restrained was totally out of order and should only be used as a last resort.
If a police want to arrest you, normal arrest, then, you should surrender. They didn't do that. So, like I said, I saw a lady pushing the police officer. You just can't do that. That's against the law.
Tonight, a 28-year-old man from Romford and a 16-year-old woman are still being questioned. Debbie Tubby, BBC Look East, Brentwood.
A solicitor from Kettering says she could be struck off simply for doing her job. Yvonne Hossack admits she's a campaigning lawyer who helps her clients if they face problems with local councils. But those councils think she's broken the rules and they've complained to the Law Society.
Outside the disciplinary hearing in London, the message from demonstrators, "I love my solicitor." The Australian theme, because in their view, this is a kangaroo court. The Kettering Solicitor may be a thorn in the side of the establishment, but her supporters say she alone gives a voice to the old and the vulnerable, campaigning against the closure of homes and cuts in services.
She's one fantastic lady, one fantastic solicitor. She will go the full mile and further for all her clients. She'll spare nothing.
She's looked after my daughter and she's looked after many other people's daughters and sons and elderly people, and it's her turn that she needs support now.
Good morning, Hossack. How can I help?
Miss Hossack has represented more than 30,000 people campaigning against cuts in services and the closure of homes. Northamptonshire County Council, one of 3 who've complained to the Law Society. John Goodwin of the Solicitors Regulation Authority said this wasn't about whether Miss Hossack was a caring individual. It was quite obvious that she was. But he said she'd breached the rules of conduct over client confidentiality and by encouraging clients to engage in a media and political campaign.
Are you fighters in Northampton?
Yes.
Of course you are. If there were a choice between the rules and the death of an old man who didn't have a solicitor, I would try to save the old man. Because I serve a higher master and there are rules greater than these in the Guide to the Professional Conduct. And we are obliged not to let a frail human being suffer and die because everyone's saying, oh, the rules say this, and that bit of paper will kill that old man and I won't have it.
Miss Hossack is representing herself. Tomorrow, Northamptonshire MPs Sally Keeble and Brian Binley and Home Secretary Alan Johnson are expected to give evidence on her behalf. Kim Riley, BBC Look East, Central London.
More details have emerged about the future of the Vauxhall factory in Luton. Last week it was finally decided that General Motors Europe was being sold to the Canadian company Magna. Today, more details of what that could mean for workers in Luton. Here's our business correspondent Richard Bond.
Well, Stuart, at a briefing in Germany today, Magna has said that it wants to cut about 10,500 jobs across the operations of Vauxhall and Opel in Europe. And that 4,500 of those job losses will be in Germany. Now, that's significant because last week when the deal was announced, I think a lot of people got the impression that there wouldn't be significant job losses in Germany because the whole deal was announced by the German Chancellor and the whole thing was largely being financed by the German taxpayer, and that therefore all the jobs would have to come in other European countries, e.g. Britain. But I think what we've learnt today is that the pain of the job losses will be shared more equally across Europe, including Germany, and therefore Britain won't have to bear the brunt of it.
It's like staring into a muddy pond, though, isn't it? You don't know what it means until it happens. What does it mean, do you think, to people in Luton?
Well, Magna's not been precise about its plans for Luton, but I think after what we've learnt today, it's looking likely that Magna will keep both Luton and Ellesmere Port, the two UK plants, open, but will cut significant job losses at both places. So in Luton, where there are 1,500 people working at the van factory, I think we're probably looking at a few hundred job losses, hopefully not more.
Richard, thank you very much.
A bit of political history will be made in Bedford tonight. In just under an hour, a meeting will be held to select the Conservative candidate who will stand in the election for a new mayor. But it's not just party members who can vote. Anybody from the town can have their say.
When it's held next month, this will be an important election. The Mayor of Bedford has a big say in how this town is run. The vote will also be seen as an important test of support for the main political parties. The local membership of Labour and the Liberal Democrats have already chosen their respective candidates. The Conservatives are using a more unconventional approach.
People have become really disillusioned with politics, quite understandable of late, particularly with MPs' expenses, and we want to re-engage them, we want to bring them back in and get involved with the democratic process again.
It's an interesting idea. Anyone could apply to be the Conservative candidate for Bedford. The party drew up a shortlist, and tonight anyone from the town can come along and vote. The idea comes from America, where primaries are held in every state to choose the presidential candidates before the election proper takes place. A growing number of people in the Conservative Party wonder if primaries are the way forward in this country, a way to reconnect with the public. They held one in Fenland last year and now Bedford. Critics, though, say it's all a gimmick. When they tried this in Totnes in Devon last month, 16,000 people took part in the vote. A local GP was chosen as the next Conservative candidate.
This is refreshing, but it's also quite a complicated process. It's pretty expensive, and also what a lot depends on who picks the original three who goes to the candidate. So it's not quite the victories for democracy it looks at the headline level.
Around 300 people are expected at the Bedford meeting tonight. Not a large number, and many will be party members. But that's more than you normally get at a selection meeting. And it means that for the first time in our region, ordinary members of the public with possibly no political affiliation will have had a say in whose name they want on the ballot paper. Andrew Sinclair, BBC Look East, Bedford.